It's 20 degrees centigrade, which is 20 Fahrenheit. 95% humidity. I don't know why, there's no rain. Bit cloudy today. 1018 millibars on the barometer. And the flag, I don't know, it's doing its usual, sort of twisting around the pole, not bothering to do much at all, to be honest. How are you? I hope you're well. Raise rants at protonmail.com if you want to say anything. It's still a mess in here. I was still trying to organise bits and pieces. When I organise things or tidy up in here, it looks worse. Do you find that, or is it just me? I think it's just me. I don't know what I'm doing. I move things around rather than tidy, and it looks worse. Anyway, enough of that. Here's something interesting. The other night, I was in the garden, and the birds were singing away. It was coming up to 10 o'clock. Birds singing everywhere. Lovely. At 10 o'clock, I could hear the town hall clock striking 10. The birds stopped. Not just one or two, but all the birds in our garden, in other gardens. Silence. At 10 o'clock on the dot. What is that all about? Do birds have a built-in body clock or something? Or do they listen out for the town hall clock? Hello, lads, it's 10 o'clock, right? Bedtime, silence. I just found that quite interesting. I don't know why. Of course, they start at any time in the morning. The dawn chorus can start from, 3 o'clock onwards, normally around 4. But they have started many times at 3 o'clock. I suppose it depends on the amount of daylight, sunrise, the weather and the rest of it. I don't know. Interesting all the same. Do you remember I mentioned our singing washing machine? A lot of you seem to like that. I quite like it actually. It is useful. We know when it's ended it plays this little tune. It doesn't actually sing, it just plays a tune. Several of you have said that you've got singing domestic appliances. Jenny, hello Jenny. Jenny says her fridge sings. It talks to the internet and it sings. I don't know whether all this is a good idea, do you? It won't be long before the fridge says, Jenny, we're out of cheese. Do you want me to put it on your shopping list? I think actually that is happening, isn't it? Appliances like a fridge, they're on the internet, they're on your local Wi-Fi, and they do talk to, I don't know what they do, talk to your local supermarket. Can you send cheese? We're running out. Half an hour later, there's a cheese delivery. Is that good? I think it's making us all very lazy, to be honest. They were talking on the telly this morning about house husbands, where perhaps the wife goes out to work, she's on good money, and the husband, they might have a couple of children, he stays at home. He does the children, the housework, the washing and all this, the ironing. Can you hear that now? Someone's got an electric saw. It's 7:30 in the morning. What is going on? We live in the middle of a building site. Now, to be honest, I wouldn't mind being a house husband at all. Is that a current term or is that an old term? I don't know. Imagine Trish goes off to work. She's on 50, 60 grand a year, something like that. Loads of money. I stay here. I do the washing, I do the ironing. And as someone on the telly said, they pointed out that this isn't 1920. Doing the washing isn't by hand, wringing it all out, hanging it out and carpet beating and sweeping the carpets and all this business. You chuck it in the machine and press a button. Okay, it needs ironing. It needs hanging out on the washing line or throwing in the tumble dryer. But as he pointed out, it's not as hard as it was back in the 20s. I wouldn't have minded that at all. They were saying, though, that some men don't like it. They want to be the breadwinner. I'm the one that earns the money, not you. You're the woman. You can stay at home. I've never had that attitude. I think that's weird. If Trish said, look, I've got an offer of a job. I'm on 80 grand a year, but you can't work. You'll have to stay at home doing the housework, looking after kids or whatever. I would have said, go for it. 80 grand a year, go for it. I'm quite happy here. I'd have morning coffee with the neighbours, chat over the fence. Can you imagine that, chatting over the fence? Hello, Mrs. Smith. How's your Bert's lumbago? Oh, mustn't grumble. Imagine me going to coffee mornings with the ladies, 11 o'clock, all meet at someone's house, go on about the housework. Oh, well, that rained yesterday. I put the washing out and it got wet. I know, it's awful. I had to do it all again. I'm not, with all due respect to ladies, housewives, is that a term I could use these days? Housewife? Or is that somehow offensive? It's a crazy world, isn't it? I think the term housewife might be offensive or rude to some people. I don't know. Anyway, all I'm saying is that I wouldn't have minded that at all. I'd quite like to stay at home doing the housework. And I think I'd be pretty good at it. Not as good as Trish. If I do vacuum or do any dusting, then she will point out, well, look, there's that bit there, and what about that? Ah, yes, I missed that bit. So I'm not as good as Trish, but I'm sure with a bit of training, I could become quite an efficient house husband. It's not only housework, though, is it? I remember my mum didn't work, when she had kids. My dad worked 6 days a week, so my mum did the housework. She did painting and decorating. I remember her painting the skirting board in the hall. She'd have the transistor radio next to her, listening to Jimmy Young on Radio 2. Do you remember that? What's the recipe today, Jim? And she'd get on with the painting, the gloss painting. She did the garden. She cleaned the windows. They only had a bungalow, so, didn't need a window cleaner. She had all these jobs. It wasn't just washing, ironing, cooking, making beds, that sort of thing. It was the garden as well, the decorating, all sorts of things like that. It was it was and still is really a full-time job. Easier these days, of course. But it's not something that I'd mind doing at all. Oh, one other thing, going back to singing washing machines, Carol says that her microwave talks to her. What's it say, Carol? I don't know what it would say to you. Would it say, well, this is nearly ready. Have you laid the table? Because I'm just about ready. I don't know. Our dishwasher, we've got a new dishwasher. That's funny. When I first plumbed it in and everything, we gave it a trial and it all worked beautifully. So we filled it up with all our dirty stuff. Off it goes. At the end, we were just outside the kitchen door and we heard this buzzing. And we thought, oh no, what's happened? The dishwasher's buzzing. The door was opening. Honestly, have you seen that? There's this little bar that was coming out, and it's pushing the door open, only about 3 or 4 inches. Then the little bar went back in. It's quite funny. We both stood there amazed. But of course it makes sense, doesn't it? Open the door to get all the steam out so the cutlery and the rest of it can dry properly. But when it first happened, we wondered what on earth was going on. The dishwasher door opening by itself. Whatever next? This is all very well, isn't it? Things talking to you and beeping and whatever, playing tunes. It's all very well until it goes wrong. This is the trouble. I think, as I said the other day, we've got too much in the way of electronics in domestic appliances, cars, everything these days. And when it goes wrong, it's a nightmare. In the old days, you could call out the washing machine engineer. He'd replace a pump or a motor or a drive belt, a water inlet valve, all basic mechanical stuff like that. I've always repaired our own washing machine in the past because it's pretty basic. But these days you can't. It's full of computers and robots. Well, perhaps not robots, but it's all full of electronics. You can't repair it anymore. Perhaps that's the idea. You have to call out a man and he's going to charge you a fortune. I don't know. It's all rather odd, isn't it? I'm always saying bring back the old days. In many ways, the old days were lovely. It was really nice. But in other ways, terrible. Imagine all day Monday doing the washing, hand washing in the sink, taking it all out, wringing it out, filling the sink with fresh water to rinse it. Do that 2, 3, 4 times. Then you've got to rig it out as best you can by hand, put it all on the line. Of course, it's soaking wet, no spin dryer. Then you've got to bring it all in. You've got to iron it. It was a lot of work. Monday was wash day, wasn't it? A lot of work. Had an email from Terry. Hello, Terry. He says, what heating did you have back in the days when you were a child? Apart from the coal fire. Yeah, coal fire in the lounge. In the kitchen, there was a boiler, which heated the water as well, Terry. That was in the corner in the kitchen, a grey, sort of enamel grey boiler thing with the flue going up. And you'd fill that with coke, was it? I think they used coke, not anthracite. Coke. That warmed the kitchen, but it also produced hot water. The water, like a gravity thing, hot water would rise from the boiler into a water tank up in the loft. The cold water from the tank would come down to the bottom of the boiler. You see what I mean? It would go round and round and round, warming up all the time. No pumps or anything, it was just a gravity thing. Hot water rises, doesn't it? Cold water goes to the bottom. Now, of course, that had to be kept going. The coal fire in the lounge, every morning that had to be cleaned out, made up, ready for lighting the following afternoon or evening or whenever. So the housewife had to do all that. The boiler in the kitchen, you had to keep that going, keep it topped up with coke, otherwise you've got no hot water. There was a lot to do. In fact, people used to say that being a housewife in the old days, it was harder than going out to work, to perhaps an office job or, typist in an office, something like that. Far harder working at home, looking after kids, painting, decorating, washing, ironing, looking after the boiler. I remember a friend of ours, we'd sit in the pub. At 10:30, he'd say, right, I've got to go. He had very old parents. They had him late in life. 10:30, every time we were in the pub, I've got to go and stoke up the boiler. He had to go and put coke in it, keep it going. At 10:30, he had to be home there to do it because his parents had gone to bed. And if it wasn't done, then by the morning, the fire had gone out. There's no hot water. So that was his job. Bless him, he's gone now. He was a funny chap. That's another story. Harry. I used to call him Harry Worth. That wasn't his name. Well, his name was Harry, but not Harry Worth. Do you remember Harry Worth in the old days? The comedian chap. He'd do that thing on shop doorway with the shop front, the glass front. He'd wave one arm and leg up in the air, and the reflection would look like you're doing all four. Anyway, you know what I mean, don't you? Harry Worth. Tony Hancock. He was good in the old days. Hancock's half out. Why am I going on to this? I was going to tell you something else and now I've forgotten what that was. Yes, heating. Sorry, Terry, wasn't it? Sorry, heating in the old days. So we had the boiler in the kitchen. We had the coal fire in the lounge. Now, Terry's question really was, what about bedrooms? Well, I'll tell you what we had in our bedroom when we were kids. You won't believe this. We had a paraffin heater. A paraffin heater, can you believe it? In the bedroom. If that had got knocked over, say one of the kids had been sleepwalking or got out of bed to do something, knocked the thing over, you'd have the bedroom on fire. I do remember friends of ours, they had a paraffin heater in their bedroom and they had the windows closed and the door shut, of course. It's winter, they're trying to keep the warmth in. This paraffin thing burnt up all the oxygen and they woke up feeling really bad, probably carbon monoxide poisoning as well as lack of oxygen or whatever. They were ill for about a week. It was dreadful. So that was the end of the paraffin heater as far as they were concerned. But that's what we had. In the old days, there were electric fires. I remember my dad in the really severe winter nights, he'd put an electric fire, like a 1-bar or 2-bar fire in our bedrooms. But the trouble with that is the electricity. It cost a fortune. It still does. As I said the other day, most expensive electricity in the world now here in rip-off Britain. Good, isn't it? I don't know what's happened. But back then he couldn't afford to have electric fires all around the house going all night. So basically the heating in the bedroom was paraffin heater, which wasn't good because that also produces a lot of condensation. I may be wrong here, but I think the paraffin is like water in it, which then goes all round the room and steams up everywhere. I don't know what it does. But certainly not a good idea. They used to use paraffin heaters in greenhouses as well at night. If it's, say, early spring or late autumn or whatever, you'd have a paraffin heater just to keep the temperature all right for the plants. So yes, heating in the old days. You've probably heard me talk many times before over the years about frost on the inside of the bedroom window. I remember scratching my name in the frost, drawing pictures in the frost. The heating in the bedroom at night was from your body under the eiderdown. Do you remember the big old eiderdowns and the candlewick bedspread? Who remembers? Listen, I'm showing my age now. Candlewick bedspread. Who remembers those? What's that? Oh, that reminds me. Someone said the other day, do you do outtakes as email? I said, yeah, I do outtakes. If something goes wrong, like I might accidentally do something like that, I'll cut that out. And they said, leave the outtakes in. So I shall leave all that in just to annoy people. No, it doesn't annoy everyone. I know Susan, wasn't it? Hello, Susan. I've just replied to your email. You like the noises, the sort of background noises, cars going past, things happening. It's real life, isn't it? A lot of people have said this to me. Rather than be locked in a soundproof studio or booth, no birds singing, no one with electric saws, pneumatic drills in the road, shouting going on. People do like that. And from the emails I've had, I think the majority of people like that. They don't like silence. Well, probably like me to be silent at times, but you can always turn me off, can't you? Happy days, as my old mate used to say. He ran the Army Surplus store in Portland Road in Worthing. Oh, Les Grout, his name was, Les Grout. And he was always saying, happy days. That's where I got it from. It's now Friday, and I am hot. We've been to Amberley Museum. Lovely, we went there for lunch. Brother-in-law's birthday, he wanted to go to Amberley Museum, have a wander around and have lunch there. So there was Trisha, myself, Trisha's mum, Trisha's sister, her husband, our niece, which is Trisha's sister's granddaughter. Is that right? No, yes, no, I don't know. That's her daughter. I get confused with all these things like cousins twice removed. Where have they been removed from? Our niece's son, the little lad. He's amazing, he is. He's got a character of it. Oh, he's amazing. Anyway, just going back, I was just listening to the episode because I forget what I've said, you know me. I mentioned carpet beating in the old days before vacuum cleaners and all that. I remember in the 1950s being at my grandmother's house, and she hung this carpet, this rug thing, on a line, on a rope in the garden, and she had a beater, and it was made out of, like basket stuff. I'd hit the carpet with it, keep bashing the carpet. It was great fun. Dust flying everywhere. Fantastic. So it just shows, doesn't it? Even in the 50s, obviously there were vacuum cleaners around, but she used a carpet beater. That's quite weird, isn't it, really? Going back also to heating the houses, a lot of bedrooms had a coal fire. In fact, in our house here, we've got 4 fireplaces, lounge, dining room, and 2 of the upstairs bedrooms, only 2 of them, have a fireplace. There's a fireplace under my table here where I'm sitting, my £3 table. Who remembers my £3 table from the auction? Under the table, I'm looking now under there, there's a fireplace because this was a bedroom. And our bedroom has a fireplace in it. We've never lit them. I have said to Trish, I'd love to light the coal fire in our bedroom. The yellow on the walls at night, the flickering flames in the winter. But I've had a firm no, we are not having a coal fire in the bedroom. Okay, the boss has spoken. Ray, thank you for the video links, the clips you sent me, those links of people being asked questions. It's someone in the street with a microphone, supposedly from a TV company or whatever. Good afternoon. What do you think of the Prime Minister so far? That sort of thing. I can't tell you the answers, but old ladies saying, I'll tell you what I think. Beep, you can't. Thank you for that, Ray. That made me chuckle. That's good. It's been very, very hot today, as I've said, and I have had so far today 4 Met Office weather warnings. They email me. I'm on their list, to be emailed. Danger, Will Robinson. Storm on the way. Apparently tomorrow morning, Saturday morning, starting about, 1 or 2 in the morning, severe weather coming up from France across the channel. Storms, thunder, lightning, torrential rain. It's going to be great fun. I'm going to have my recorder ready so I can bore you with that on the Wednesday's episode, the midweek message. But you know what's going to happen, don't you? I know exactly what's going to happen. Nothing. There'll be no storm, there'll be no rain, a bit like Michael Fish. Oh, someone phoned the studio and said, is there a hurricane on the way? Of course there's not a hurricane on the way, silly old bat. Well, I don't think he said that about the lady. And of course there was the severe hurricane of 87. I saw another joke, talking of jokes that Ray sent me. I saw another joke. There's this picture of a chap in bed. He's looking very ill, exhausted, worn out, and his wife saying, I told you not to overdo it. Not only did you take the bin out, you washed your cup up. He's overdone it. He's been trying to help. Funnily enough, I said to Trish the other day, I've put the bin out. She said, oh, that's a great help. She's been doing the washing, the ironing, the vacuum bin. She's been doing everything. I put the bin out. I said, oh, great. Don't overdo it. I showed her that joke. She said, that's you in that bed, exhausted and looking ill. That was quite funny. Let me just check my notes here because I forget what I'm saying. I tell you what, though, it was hot at Amberley this morning. I'm going to tear this up. I've got these post-it notes, these post-it things where I jot down things I want to say. I have to tear them up because I become repetitive otherwise. Every week you'll hear the same little tale. So yes, very, very hot today. It's 26 in here at the moment. Very, very hot. Calm as well. It was very calm earlier. There's a bit of a breeze now. I think this is the calm before the storm. We shall see. The proof of the pudding will be in the eating, as they say. I've got to tell you this. At Amberley Museum, there was a group of school kids, on a school sort of outing type trip. They're all milling about. They're 11 to 12-year-olds, something like that sort of age. They all look very smart in their uniforms, all behaving themselves. Tricia and her mum had been to the toilet. We're in the cafe part. I saw Tricia come out of the toilet with her mum, and they both went over to one of the leaders, the teachers, whoever they were. And I saw Trish talking to one of them, and I thought, oh dear, she's complaining about something or other. Do you know what it was? Well, you don't. Why do people say, do you know what it was? And obviously you don't know what it was. Anyway, what it was, Tricia's mum was at the back of the queue. There were 5 or 6 girls in the queue for the toilet. She went in there with Trish, stood at the back of the queue, and the girl said, you can go before us. How nice was that? That was really nice. That made my day hearing that. Tricia was over the moon. She said, what a lovely bunch of girls. Really polite, really nice. That doesn't happen much. That used to happen in the 50s and 60s. It was so nice to hear about that. The trouble is, as Trish said, the trouble is on various platforms, Facebook and TikTok and whatever it all is, X and Twitter and stuff, people only put things about youngsters when something bad has happened. Vandals smashed up a cricket pavilion. Youngsters did this. Youngsters went and did that. Aren't they awful? No one ever puts what good they've done. I thought that was really nice. Tricia's mum is in her 80s, and it wasn't just one girl, it was all of them. Oh, you go first, we can wait, you go first. Of course, in the 50s at school and the 60s, we were taught to respect our elders. Now, the trouble is with that, a lot of elders are miserable old pigs. It's true, isn't it? I've been in a queue in the post office, and there's been perhaps a couple of youngsters in the queue, and some old lady will come in and go in front of them, deliberately push past them to get to the front of the queue. How can you respect your elders when they do that sort of thing? Quite a few elders are miserable old beep, whatever. I'm an elder. I'm not miserable. Well, not most of the time. I know I moan a lot. But a lot of youngsters, they do help out neighbours, they help out friends and family and things like that. They're not all bad. They shouldn't all be tarred with the same brush. That's an interesting saying, isn't it? Tarred with the same brush. I know some people don't like this, but if I see a lady of any age, I will open the door for her. I know a lot of women don't like that. I can open the door myself. I don't need you to do it. What do you think I am? Well, I think that's a shame. That's how I was brought up. You open the door for the lady. If you're on a bus, mind you, I avoid buses. They're full of germs. But if I was on a bus and a lady got on, elderly lady or a pregnant lady, I'd give up my seat, or a train, I'd give up my seat. That's the way I was brought up. I'm afraid some, let me see, how can I put this? Some visitors to our country don't do that. That's not the way they've been brought up. That's not their culture or whatever it is they say. And I don't know, it's just, anyway, I won't go on about that. But I do like to open a door for a lady, especially elderly lady. Or if you see someone trying to cross the road, an elderly lady trying to cross the road, then I think it's only nice to help them across. What was it? What's that saying? Manners maketh man, or something like that. I think that's about right. Which we were all taught in the old days at school and by parents and things. What was it? 50% of 5-year-olds that start school aren't toilet trained, and they can't clean their teeth. Well, what's going on there? Teachers don't go into teaching to change nappies and clean children's teeth, do they? They go into teaching because they want to teach people. Anyway, there we are. That's all a load of old rubbish, isn't it? I don't know what's happened to the world. I think it's only a very few ladies, women, females, girls that don't like doors being opened for them. I think the majority quite like that, or being offered a seat. Another thing I'll do if I'm driving along the road, depending on the situation, the traffic, etc. If I'm driving and I see a young lady with perhaps a pushchair, a pram, and a child she's holding the hand, I will stop and let them cross. Depending on the road conditions, of course, if you've got traffic coming towards you fast, then don't do that because they might not stop coming the other way. But if it's safe, especially if there's a sort of island bit in the middle that they can get to, then I will do that, wave them across. I think that's only, well, it's just good manners, isn't it? It's just polite, it's helping others. What do you think about all that? Are you elderly like me? Do you remember being taught to respect your elders at school when you were young? Are you young and do you think no old ladies can open the door themselves, or if they haven't got a seat, hard luck. They should have got on the bus earlier. I don't know. In the old days, you get the commuters going to London, the businessmen with their bowler hat, their umbrella, copy of the Financial Times, their briefcase. They would get on the early morning train, 6:30, 7 o'clock train. They had their own seats. Now, they weren't their own seats at all. I remember this if I had to go up to London early in the old days, which I did on occasion. I'd sit down, I'd get on, I'd sit down. People would get on at the next stop, and a chap would come up and stare at you. Excuse me, that's my seat, excuse me. They'd say that. These businessmen, that work up in London, they're commuting. They'd say that. Sorry, that's my seat. I sit there every morning on this 7 o'clock train. What don't you know? Oh, get out of it, you young whippersnapper. No, they didn't say that. But they did say, excuse me, that's my seat. I just moved. It was easy to say, yeah, fine, have the seat, But that's rude, isn't it? I know they've got their traditions and their bowler hat and they sit there every morning, but hard luck. If someone else is sitting there, it's a public seat. It's not reserved. It's not a private train. I remember that. That was funny. A friend of mine was a train driver. Trisha's dad was a train driver. But I remember this friend of mine, train driver. Very often when I saw him, he'd say, I got up to Victoria this morning, stopped the train, and several of these so-called businessmen, these commuters, a bit quicker this morning, old man. Oh, spilt my tea, you did, coming out of that tunnel. And he'd just say, terribly sorry, sir. And then mumble under his breath, things I can't comment on, things I can't repeat. But they're just rude. Why do people have to be rude? I don't know. There we are. I remember my mum, when I was 18, I made some comment or other, I forget what it was. And she said to me, do you have to make lewd comments all the time? And I said, yes, I'm 18. And that made her laugh. There was a lovely young lady on the kind of entrance to Amberley Museum this morning. You go in there, you show your membership card if you're members like we are, or you pay to go in. She was lovely. She said, good morning, welcoming with a big smile. It was lovely. Trish showed her the membership cards. Oh, good, nice to see you again. Hope you have a lovely day. The restaurant's open, enjoy a coffee. Really nice. It doesn't cost anything, does it, to be polite? Some places you go to, some shops, some pubs even, you go in there. Huh? That's all you get. Huh? That means, what do you want? Well, I'd like a beer. Huh? I don't think that happens quite so much these days because the staff are trained, especially chains of pubs or shops where it's a chain of shops. The staff are taught, aren't they? You welcome customers properly. You don't grunt at them. What do you want? I don't know. It's a shame a lot of the old values have gone. Oh, that was another video clip I saw about British values. I won't mention that. I might get arrested. Imagine that. Me arrested. Stone the crows. I'm going to have a break now. It's, where are we? 16:04, which in ordinary money, real money, is nearly 4:05 in the afternoon. 16:04. And that's BST, of course. British Summertime, don't you know? What? Not GMT. People don't use GMT anymore, do they? It's UTC, isn't it? Universal Clock Time. Is it UTC? No, Universal Time Clock. That Universal Time Clock. What a load of rubbish. It's GMT. Right, I shall be back tomorrow, Saturday. And you never know, I might have a recording of a storm, thunder, lightning, lashing rain. There again, there may be nothing. See you tomorrow. Well, here we are, 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm outside under the patio roof. Daylight's coming. No thunderstorm, no lightning, nothing. Just rain. What's the point in the Met Office? We've had warning after warning about the storm. Nothing. It was supposed to be here at midnight, then it was 2 o'clock, then 4 a.m. It's now 5 a.m. I've looked on my lightning app. There's some lightning over in northern France, but that's it. At least we've got some rain, which is rather good because the garden's very dry. It's lovely out here actually. What's the temperature? 21 centigrade at the moment. I hope you can hear me over the rain. I'm going to make a cup of tea. See you in a minute. I'm indoors now. The rain's eased off a bit. I've had my tea. I've now made some coffee. The time now is just gone 7 o'clock. Trisha's gone round the bread shop to pick up the rolls for lunch. We've got the family coming round for lunch as it's Saturday. But this weather forecast, I filled in a Met Office thing on the app. It says, how did you find the forecast? So I put on there whichever answer it was, waste of time, useless or something. And it said, what made you choose that option? I've done this before, as you know. I'm not going to go on about it. But I said, well, what's the point? Thunder, 5 warnings, 5 email warnings about thunderstorm coming our way. Be careful, blah, blah, blah. Nothing. Just a bit of rain, that's all, nothing. What's the point? They've got millions of pounds worth of computer equipment. What do they do with that? They might as well hang a bit of seaweed outside the back door, as my old nan used to. That was a pretty good indication of what was happening with the weather. Anyway, that's that. I shall delete the app. There's no point in having the damn thing. The other app I've got is Home and Dry. That's a radar map of the rain. So you can see where the rain is and you can see it coming towards you, and it's got a time scale. So you can look on there, and that's pretty accurate. Being radar, it can see the rain. So you know that, say, within an hour, it's going to reach where I am. And that's normally about right, unless there's a massive change of wind or something, which is very unusual. And the other app I use is the lightning app. The thunderstorm app. It shows you where lightning strikes are. They're normally out in the Channel or northern France, and you can follow them as it comes across the Channel towards us. So that's pretty accurate, but the Met Office is a total... What's the point of the Met Office? Now, who wanted more trail cam videos? Because I showed the fox, didn't I, along with the train the other day. Do you remember that video on rants.info on the video page? Oh, by the way, if you want to email me, raiserants@protonmail.com. Trailcam video. It was Susan, Dave, Eric and Jenny mentioned the trailcam, I think. Yes, if anything happens at night on the trailcam, I will put it on the website page, raiserants.info. I'm hoping to see the fox again. I would put out food for the fox, but I'm not too sure because it attracts seagulls. We used to feed the hedgehogs. We put out, cat food, special cat food. There's certain cat food you mustn't put out. You mustn't put out bread and milk for the hedgehogs because they're lactose intolerant and all that. We did it properly, but the seagulls came down, even at 3 a.m, just pigged the whole lot. It was very difficult. I made a sort of wooden house with the food in that the seagulls couldn't get into. That worked to an extent. But of course you got seagulls at 3 a.m. screaming in the garden, trying to get into this wooden house I made. So that was the end of that. We don't seem to have hedgehogs anymore, which is a shame. So yes, I would encourage the foxes to come in, but they chew things up. If I put food out, the seagulls will start again. Anyway, there we are, not to worry. Right, where's my list? I don't think I've got anything. No, I've got nothing left. Nothing left on the list. So that's that. Switched on my amateur radio gear yesterday. I spoke to Manfred, who's just outside Frankfurt. Hello, Manfred, if you're listening. He doesn't listen to this, but we were chatting on there, and I said, what's your weather forecast like? He said it's useless. He doesn't use the Met Office. They've got their own, presumably. He said he doesn't bother with it because it's always wrong. I thought that was funny. So yes, that was Manfred. I'm having a bit more of a go at amateur radio stuff recently, getting back into it. Not that I got out of it at all, but I've spent so much time out in the garden because of the weather. We've been out and about to various places, but now it's lashing with rain. I'm going to have a radio day today, see who I can chat to, ask them what their weather forecast is like in their part of the world. That's enough about weather forecasts and all that nonsense. What a waste of time. In the good old days, the weather forecast was you wake up in the morning, oh, it's raining. It looks like it might rain all day. You look around, yep, it's cloudy all over. It might clear up later, but it looks like it'll probably rain all day. Or you wake up in the morning, blue sky, sun shining, 1 or 2 fluffy clouds. No, that looks all right, should be a nice day. Might get a shower later if the clouds start to come across. Just keep an eye on the sky. That's all you have to do. Especially here where we are, we've got the South Downs to the north of us. And if it's going to rain, you can look over to the north and the sky is black, absolutely black. And you think, okay, it's going to rain later, and it does. Who needs a forecast? I don't think I've got much else to say, actually. I would have taken the little recorder to Amberley, but Yeah, what's the point of that? Oh, look, there's the train. Oh, look, there's the vintage bus. Actually, did I tell you about the vintage bus? I did. All those school kids that were on the bus. It's an open top. I think it's a 1940s bus, 30s or 40s, open top. And of course, all these school kids are on it, waving to everyone and shouting and screaming as they do. It's quite funny. So they enjoyed their day out anyway. I've just remembered someone was talking the other day about man cave, is it? Where the man has a shed down the garden and that's his man cave. You might make it into a pub or just a sort of den or a workshop. That's his cave where he goes, gets away from house, family, visitors, all that nonsense, goes to his man cave and he's happy down there. And someone was saying, did you have man caves back in the 50s, 60s? Well, when I was 14 and I left school, I ended up in hospital. When I came out of hospital, to cheer me up, my dad bought me a shed, a brand new shed, and he set it up in the garden. He put power there, electricity. I fitted up lights and power points and things like that, and that was the real beginning of my interest in amateur radio. I'd always listened on shortwave to amateurs and the military and shipping and everything, but that was in my bedroom, which was a bit awkward because, Mum didn't like nuts and bolts all over the carpet and bits of wire cut up, equipment everywhere. She couldn't vacuum under my bed because there's loads of old radios in bits under there and things like that. So I got this shed. I spent most of my life in that shed. Even when I was still at home at 18, I was still in the shed. Although I went night clubbing and pubbing and stuff, I still had the shed. And that was my man cave. So yes, there were man caves back then. A friend of mine had a garage. He was older than me, had his own house. He had his garage set up with all his radio gear, which was nice. Far better than a shed. And they do say these days, don't they, every man needs his cave or his den somewhere. I've now got this room, which is not the same. I have to admit, it's not the same as being down in the shed. The shed in the winter was cold, in the summer it's too hot, but it was away from the house and it was a genuine cave. It was all my stuff in there. If I put a pen down on the bench, that pen would stay there. It wouldn't move. No one moved it because only I went in there. Whereas in here, Trish will come and tidy up. Bless her cotton socks. I'll put something down. Well, where's that? Oh, that was there yesterday. It's gone. And I'll say to Trish, have you seen so-and-so? Oh, yes, yeah, I put it away. You left it out. I put it away. I must admit, if Trish didn't come in here and vacuum and tidy, it would be a disaster. It would be a total mess. But yeah, this is my man cave. I could shut the door. For example, mother-in-law's round this morning for lunch, one or two other family members. I do my bit. I'm polite, go down there. Hello, how you doing? Lovely jubbly. Then I come up here and shut the door. And they all know I'm doing my radio stuff or recording a podcast episode. So to anyone that may have wondered or been wondering about man caves, they're nothing new. They were around in the 50s, and I'm sure they were around a long time before that. I shall love you and leave you. Nice chatting as always. I shall see you on Wednesday with a midweek message. I don't know what the weather's doing tomorrow, Sunday, when you'll be listening to this. Of course, you're all around different parts of the world, aren't you? Rob in Australia and Amy in Seattle. Hello, Doreen. Are you listening, Doreen? What's the weather doing where you are? Perhaps you'll let me know, Amy, what's happening in Seattle. Oh, yeah, big shout out. Don't forget the shout outs. I've done that, haven't I? Yes, I've done that. If you want to shout out, I'll do that on the next episode. Be good. If you're bad, don't get caught. Look after yourselves. Enjoy the weather. If it's nice weather, enjoy the sunshine. If it's horrible weather, get into your man cave. Even ladies have women caves. Some of them do, I was hearing the other day. It's usually something like a spare room in the house where they do their, whatever it is they're interested in. They might do a bit of artwork or, I don't know, embroidery, stuff like that. So even ladies have their lady caves. Happy days. Thanks for listening. See you on Wednesday. Bye-bye for now.